Welcome into the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff, and we have breaking Miami Heat news here late on the East Coast. It's about 11:45 on that Eastern time zone, 10:45 where I am in Dallas, Texas. But the Miami Heat have traded Victor Oladipo to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The reported package is Victor Oladipo and draft compensation to the Thunder, and the Heat will not be receiving anything back other than a $9.45 million trade exception. And I actually tweeted this out on my Twitter, so go follow me at Nic_Rohloff right away as the deal came in, because I knew that the Heat would not be getting anything in return other than freeing up money. And I think that is a key thing, though, that Miami had to do. And this move makes all the sense in the world and is actually a good move in my book, as long as the draft compensation going to Oklahoma City is not anything more than like 1 second round pick. But this is why you subscribe to the Heat Report. I've done a ton of at-home videos in the past, and I'll continue to say it, that when Miami Heat news or massive rumors drops, I will drop whatever I'm doing and get you guys a video. I'm actually dog sitting for my boy Mitch right now, but I had to bring the laptop and all my stuff ready to go just in case breaking news happened for your Heat, and it did, so it paid off. That's why you hit that sub button, because I'll keep you guys informed on all Miami Heat news and rumors, so make sure you hit that sub button. But let's talk more about Victor Oladipo, and it's pretty sad how his career ended up turning out. He was obviously one of the guys that Heat fans always wanted when he was playing in Indiana and Oklahoma City and Houston. And he was always rumored to be someone who wanted to play for the Miami Heat. And then it ended up coming to fruition. And Oladipo did become a member of the Miami Heat a couple of years ago. But he was just always plagued with injuries. And that's really been the story of his career. And it's really tough to see, and I really hope Victor Oladipo is able to bounce back from his current injury. He'll rehab with Oklahoma City this next season in that $9.5 million contract for 1 year, and hopefully he'll be able to come back and make one final stage at a comeback in his career. Well, let's talk about what this move means for the Miami Heat. And I think it means two things. One, they were really close to that second apron of the luxury tax, which means they were going to be taxed pretty hard. And we know Mickey Arison doesn't want to give out his money like that. So one, they created a roster spot by moving Victor Oladipo. And two, they created $9.5 million in cap room, which is pretty impactful considering they now have 4 roster spots available. The roster sits at 11 people. That includes Jaime Jaquez Jr., who is not officially signed, but we basically account him as that 11th guy and what his salary would be on the books. So the Heat have 4 roster spots now, and they could fill that with in free agency. Obviously, we're curious to see what happens with Damian Lillard if the Heat make a trade on that front, but a big-time move by the Heat and Pat Riley to free up cap space. And after a crazy day one of free agency where the Heat re-signed Kevin Love and signed Josh Richardson, bringing back Rook 2, the Heat are going to be pretty active in the coming days to add more veterans to this roster, because I think they really have to not put all their eggs in one basket of potentially getting Damian Lillard. They're going to have to think of how to build this roster if it's no Damian Lillard and it's just Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo. We know Max Strus is likely to leave, and I'm waiting to see that tweet notification because it seems like the Heat and Cavaliers are working on a sign-and trade to bring in a third team to get this deal completed. We know Gabe Vincent, the Heat starting point guard throughout that entire NBA playoff, signed with the Los Angeles Lakers today. So the Heat are continuing to look for ways to make their roster better after we assume they are going to lose Max Strus and Gabe Vincent. So I just want to look at a couple moves that they could make here with that $9.45 million trade exception and the cap space they created. I'm still waiting, and if you see me glance off, I'm looking at my phone here, trying to see what the Heat sent to Oklahoma City as the draft package, alongside Vic. So, because you had to convince the Thunder to take on that contract, and you're not just going to do that without having to give them a pick. I assume it's going to be like a 1 second round pick. Now, I will make one thing to know, and I actually did tweet this, is that the Thunder own the 2025 first round pick of the Miami Heat, And there is a lot of rumors that the Heat are trying to get that protection off that pick. If you move that protection off 2025 and say you now get the 26 unprotected, it allows the Heat to send 24, 28, and 30 to the Portland Trailblazers. So if they open up that 25 first-round pick and they push it back to 26th to the Oklahoma City Thunder and they get it unprotected, now you have a third first-round pick to potentially offer in a Damian Lillard trade. So I would not be surprised if later on in these details, Victor Oladipo, a second-round pick to the Thunder, the Heat create the cap space, and they get the protections lifted off that 25 first-round pick, move it to an unprotected 26 first-round pick that the Thunder have from the Heat now, and the Heat now can trade 24, 28, and 30. So that is another thing to keep your eye on here, because now that opens up a potential third first-round pick for the Heat to send to Portland if Damian Lillard does request a trade. It makes the Heat's package more appealing, that is for sure. But before we head out of this video, I do want to let you guys know more of this free agency news and rumors around the Heat, and because they made this cap space and they got rid of that $9.45 million contract for a reason, and I don't think it's just to save Mickey money. Now, that is a main reason, but they are going to save Mickey money just by trading that contract to sign more guys. So people I want to look out for is I actually think a Jae Crowder reunion is very possible. The forward obviously played for the Miami Heat and was starting in that power forward role for the Miami Heat in the 2020 playoffs when they went to the finals in that bubble, and Jae Crowder was a mid-season acquisition. They traded for Crowder at the deadline, and he was a great fit before signing with the Phoenix Suns, and then that all went down pretty bad, and then he obviously went to Milwaukee for like 5 second-round picks, didn't get a lot of playing time for the Milwaukee Bucks, and then obviously is a free agent. So Jae Crowder, I would not be surprised if the Heat used that money they just freed up to sign Crowder is a vet min in free agency. Another guy that I've continued to mention is P.J. Washington. Now, I think this money doesn't really help them get Washington because he will command much more than $9.45 million, and I'm sure the Heat will want to allocate that money they just freed up to multiple guys on the vet min rather than one dude, and P.J. Washington is certainly going to command probably more than double-digit in $1 million annually. Even though he would be the perfect four next to Bam, I don't see them getting P.J. Washington. He's also a restricted free agent from Charlotte, so the Hornets would be able to match anything the Heat offered anyway, but it would be pretty nice to get P.J. Washington. I want to mention Mo Bamba, the center that Heat fans have clamored for on Twitter. 7 foot, one of the longest wingspans in the NBA, and he would be a perfect backup big to Bam because he is really good defensively. He can deter guys inside, block a lot of shots, and he does even have a little bit of a shooting stroke as well. He'd be a perfect backup center for the Miami Heat. I'm trying to think of other guys off the spot. Maybe Dennis Smith Jr. The Heat are going to need a backup point guard. I mentioned this in our video earlier today. If they even trade for Damian Lillard, they're going to need someone to back him up. If they don't trade for Dame, Kyle Lowry's your starting point guard, so you're going to need someone else. Dennis Smith Jr., I know a lot of people don't love him. He has no jump shot, but he is a gritty guy. He has really transformed himself into a valuable defender at that guard position. He's obviously still athletic. He can attack the cup. He can drive and play make, and obviously the Heat's developmental system is second to none. I think they'd be able to get the best out of Dennis Smith Jr., so I would be all open to that signing. But that is going to do it for today's video. I mentioned 3 or 4 free agents, why the Heat would trade Victor Oladipo to free up that money and what the reasons were and what the news was for the Miami Heat. So if you haven't subscribed already, I encourage you to do so. We'll be here for tomorrow, Sunday. We'll be here every day breaking down the latest Miami Heat news and rumors. So lock us in because it is going to be a long and busy offseason for your Miami Heat.